Hi, good morning. Thanks everybody for the opportunity for me to tell you a little bit about Bramble. So Bramble is a B2B SaaS platform that helps businesses optimize their operations. I'll kind of elaborate on that quickly so we can talk to the companies that we're really targeting. So I've spent, and my co-founder have spent our careers really consulting and managing to back office, middle office operations in large organizations. And so what we saw, and it was really COVID that kind of pushed us to do this, take the leap, is we just saw an opportunity to take some of those consulting, the consulting effort or the themes that we'd consistently encounter and put them in a SaaS platform. And that's really why Bramble was founded. I just want to draw your attention to a few stats on the screen here that I think articulate kind of what we see or the things that we've seen through our career across the globe. So on the left there's a study done by Ohio State that found the average office worker is productive for 3 hours or 2.9 hours a day. And then underneath that, there was a Microsoft survey across 30,000 people that showed that 70% of the variance in staff engagement is really directly attributed to their manager. And so that really gels with what we saw in our careers, is that we saw, if you think like these operational areas, like you think like a claims department or a payments area, got a large amount of headcount, very focused on process and systems, not so much on the people management. And also the other thing that we see time and time again is that often it's the best processor of a claim is getting promoted to be the leader. And they really don't have a leadership framework in place showing them how to actually, how to manage their team effectively. What that leads to is $37 billion worth of spend on consulting, on operations consulting specifically. That's really, is there any consultants in the room? Yeah, so I'm one too. I'm going to kind of trash them a little bit, but that's what I was. That's what we're after. We're really going after that. It's a huge amount of money. From speaking to our customers as well, like there is a little bit of tiredness around getting a PowerPoint with all these great recommendations, but not actually executing anything. So what we've done with Bramble is created like a dynamic system that it gives them daily performance metrics and then the leadership cadence to actually kind of run a cohesive and productive team. The final thing I'll call out, and the irony is not missed on me talking about enterprise SaaS, but the average large organization in North America has 129 different platforms they're using. And so what that means is it's very difficult to actually get a picture of performance, like a holistic view of performance when you're using so many different systems. So what is Bramble? So essentially what we've built with Bramble is a single pane of glass that's coupled with intelligent insight. So we stitch together, or we integrate with the different systems that are in their tech stack. Predominantly, it's going to be, it's going to be workflow systems, but you'll also see some engagement, process intelligence, adjacent SaaS, adjacent tech. What we do is we take that information and we put it in one location. And then we combine that with intelligent calls to action. So it's very role-based. If you're an individual contributor, you have access to Bramble. If you're a frontline manager, you have access. The information that you're going to get is going to be determined by your role in the organization, and we're pushing some of that insight to you as well. And the goal really is to get, it's essentially to get managers to be better leaders. In terms of our market, I kind of went at this a couple of different ways. So I'll talk about TAM and SAM first. So I took a top-down view of this. There's 21 million employees, like in back office, middle office operations across the globe. In North America, there's 5.1. Actually, North America and Australia. I've got to throw Australia in there too. There's 5.1 million. And then for the SOM, I've kind of taken a ground-up view of it. So I looked at our pipeline and the customers we're working with, and then looked at what we think we'll do in the next 3 years. So the number's dramatically different to the total, the total size of the market, but I think it's realistic. We do have customers now, so we just got green-lit by 3, just recently. So we've got one in insurance, we've got one in investment banking, and we've got one that's an e-commerce marketplace. And they're all household names. So, and that's also, those sales have really come through cold outreach, founder-led sales, cold outreach. Our experience is in enterprise sales, so we kind of know how to navigate through an organization, but it's essentially been us doing that. In terms of distribution channels, so at the moment, it's very much direct, so founder-led sales. It's often, it's cold. We are starting to get people that we've worked with in the past coming to us now as well, which is kind of cool. Even though I was bagging out consultants before, we do see that as a partnership opportunity. So we've got partnership deals with a consultancy in the UK and a couple back in Australia. We have no desire to kind of head back to Australia to kind of run this business, but we do want to partner with people that we've got a good network back there and in London, so we're leveraging that. And then the final one there really is the adjacent SaaS piece, which is where we see our exit as well. Like we see a company like Celonis or Pega, it's just a logical extension to what they're already doing really. So far, we built the MVP. We went and did discovery with about 50 prospects. So we got their feedback on what we're building. We completed our first beta, so we know the system works. We've got a case study for it. We've got those partnerships up. We've done our compliance. And then now we've got our first paying customers. And so the ask is 1.5 million. We've brought that forward a little bit than what our initial attention was because we didn't expect to have 3 enterprise customers now. We need to put fuel on the fire. We need to get the team in to make sure we can protect that and then grow those accounts as well. And that's me.
Do you want to go first or should I?
Go ahead.
First, thanks for going first. It's always hard to be the lead off. And it sounds like there's a lot of really good momentum that you have going on. The first thing I always say about a pitch is recognizing that the goal of any pitch is to get a second meeting, a more deep dive meeting. And to me, one of the most important parts is that first, visceral hook, right? Explain to me exactly the problem in a way that even if I'm not in this industry, I can sort of immediately recognize it. I think the concept of people only work productively 3 hours and it's costing people X amount and it's attributable to direct management, I think that's something I could understand. I'd say what I don't understand is I don't understand what the product does. I think walking me through a screenshot or a wireframe or a user experience, I honestly, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, I really don't understand what the software is doing. So it would be good for you to kind of say, look, we have this problem, people are only productive 3 hours, a lot of it's attributable to poor management, it's costing people $37 billion a year. We've created this solution that ties together all these, and let me walk you through exactly how what we do with our software empowers managers or provides insight or whatever it happens to do, right? So I'd say that's probably number one, walk me through it so that I completely understand it. And I'd say the last thing just on my end was there's really no talk. So at this stage, your MVP, first sale, et cetera, there's no time on the team. So when I'm writing a first check, sometimes that's literally someone sketches me out something on a napkin. It's almost exclusively betting on the people who are going to do it. So I need to walk away from that meeting going, these are the people that are going to solve this problem. I get the problem, and man, this is the team that should be building this because they've done X, they've observed Y, et cetera. If I can't walk away understanding the product, and completely believing that you are the person to solve it, then the likelihood you get a second meeting is extremely low.
No, that's good feedback. Yeah, I was torn. It was difficult to know what to put in and what to leave out with the 6 minutes. But yeah, I think that's fair.
And I'm always happy to share our templates and things that we usually see in pitch decks, if that's useful.
Yeah, everything he said. No, just kidding. First off, yeah, going first is tough. Obviously, in a 6-minute pitch, it's kind of what do you kind of focus in on and what can attract the crowd, everything else. Kind of piggyback off of what Chris said, invoking some emotion from that crowd, I think, is critical, right, in terms of identifying what that problem is. I look at our space and I can relate. I got a number of employees that are probably sitting on the gaming chairs as opposed to in their desk, kind of doing what they should be doing, right? But amplifying some of those stories to those potential investors to kind of show them this is what is permeated throughout the industries that we're dealing with. That's one. But then to Chris's point, I don't fully understand the product either, just kind of a sample process of this is how we can engage those companies to fix that issue immediately. I think your ask was pretty clear as to where it's going. Those monies are going to be allocated here, here, and here, which is good. And it was clear. But I also believe that any company, the backbone is the team at the end of the day, right? So the product has to make sense, but we have to also fully engage with that team and have a comfort of understanding these are absolutely the people that are going to pull this off to that high level, because having the product isn't always the only objective, right? It's kind of who's going to support and who's going to deliver for you as well. But I think overall, good start. I think with more time, obviously, than 6 minutes, you probably hit on those topics and create that type of emotion that can evoke some investment dollars. So.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. I guess I'm looking at this, it looks like we may have almost 5 minutes. So just a couple of questions.
Yeah.
One, walk me through what the product does, and am I to infer that, so I guess what do people do today? Is it that they hire external consultants? Is that the 37 billion or?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So so I've done this, I didn't credentialize myself very well at the start. So I did this for 15 years. I got sent to the US 8 years ago by the consultancy I work for, and I left my role as a COO in there. So this is what I've been doing pretty much my whole career. What we find is that at the moment, well, not even at the moment. In the last few years, the focus in these areas has all been on automation, RPA, process, which is great. They do great things, and we provide a little bit of visibility over that. But there's so much opportunity to just better manage your people, not just from a productivity perspective, from an engagement perspective as well. And so it's almost like this. What we find is that a lot of these organizations, they'll try and stitch together very average reporting, like performance reporting, that's typically incomplete. And so what Bramble's designed to do, the back end of it, so the integrations that we've built, it's agnostic. We can plug in pretty much any system. And the first thing we do is build a picture of the current state. So what's the performance look like in the current state model, regardless of how good or bad? And that allows us then to actually start to benchmark or the customers to kind of benchmark their performance against that ideal state. And so the goal of Bramble really, it's two things really. It's one, to give you that visibility and have it at your fingertips, so you as a frontline manager don't have to kind of hunt around for the data. And then two, a lot of managers don't, I kind of touched on it, but a lot of managers don't really know how to lead. They're not too sure. They kind of get promoted because, like I said before, they're really good at processing claims. This gives them a framework. We call it the Bramble cadence, but essentially it's built into the platform. It ties to reporting, and the goal of it is that they're using data to drive to drive conversations and performance in their team. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so today that's just being done sort of in an ad hoc. There's no other system out there that's trying to pull this together.
There's a couple of direct competitors. The company I used to work for is one. They're still straddling. We're full SaaS. They're still kind of this hybrid consulting model. There's another one out of the UK that's publicly listed. Same deal. It's kind of this hybrid consulting / SaaS model. What we find, we're often up against BI tools. So what we'll do is we'll go into a couple that we've just won recently. They've got incomplete pictures of performance that's quite it's quite cumbersome to actually create that. They've got quite a few business analysts that their whole job is just to create these reports where you plug Bramble in, you've got that at the click of a mouse, and you can focus on actually, improving the business. Yeah.
Sorry. Yep. We've got a minute, I think, so any questions from the audience for Dan? Yeah, right here.
Yeah, sure. So we did a beta last year with an insurance company out of Wisconsin. And we saw in 12 weeks, we saw a 16% improvement in productivity. We saw the number of touches per claim drop by 4. So it went from 20 down to 16 touches to actually finalize a claim. And then the engagement in the area as well kind of maintained. So staff engagement maintained as well. So in terms of the value prop, the ROI, that's exactly how we get it for our customers. It's just the productivity bump. We've priced it so that as long as we get a 3-minute increase in output per person per day, the platform pays for itself.
We got
your platform increase that productivity? Like in this case study, it went up. So like, how do I use it within my organization to boost productivity?
Yeah, it's a good question. So there's a couple ways. So the short cheating answer is we lean on something called the Hawthorne effect during the initial implementation. All that means is that if I'm aware that something is getting measured, my productivity is going to bump a bit. The next thing we focus on is what we call friction. So it's the obstacles that we're encountering. So we leave this to the customer. They can decide whether they want to actually collect this or not. But what we're really kind of coach the frontline manager on is there's this friction in your organization, and there's going to be some that you as a frontline manager can control. So skills gaps in the teams, interruptions, just workload balancing. Or there's other ones that you need to kick over to like a transformation team. So process improvement, RPA opportunities, things like that. Yep.
All right, with that, let's give it up to Dan from Bramble.